on it. So, if I can make it to Emerald, so can all of you. I promise. When I was asked to talk about growing your network and growing your influence, I kind of had to laugh. Because when I first started, I didn't start with just a small network. I started with a network that was on fire. I had just spent the last 10 years in broken relationship after broken relationship. I went through 2 divorces and burned every last bridge that I could on my way. And it was a difficult time in my life, but if I can start from nothing, less than nothing, and build from there, so can all of you. I didn't have the trust of my audience. I didn't have the trust of my family. My family had ostracized me at the time. They didn't support my Plexus business. They thought I had lost my marbles at that point, and I kind of had, honestly, so they weren't all wrong there. But when Christina mentioned the uninformed optimism, that was me. When I first started, Jamie helped me have that type of optimism. And kind of blissful ignorance as well. So starting from there, I built my network. And I remember the very first book club that we did was Get Over Yourself, and she talked about sorting through people and just filling your funnel and sorting through people. I thought, well, that sounds easy enough. I can do that. I'll just keep putting more people in my funnel and sorting through them. And so that's what I set out to do. And we talk a lot about your warm market, your cold market, and network marketing. Who's heard that word before? Hand up. Who's ever said, I've burned through my warm market? I've run out of people to talk to. A lot of people have felt that and have been there before. And I want to tell you that if you argue for your limitations, you get to keep them. If you want to argue for your limitations, then they're yours to keep. You can stay limited if you want to, but you can also argue for your success. So what's the difference between your warm market and your cold market? The only difference is influence. Your warm market, you have influence. You have equity with them. The cold market, they just don't know you enough yet. And so, what is influence? I looked up the definition. It says, the capacity to have an effect on the character development or behavior of someone, or a person or thing with the capacity or power to have an effect on someone. That's what we do. We get to affect people's character. I don't know about y'all, but my character is entirely different than when I started 2 years ago. And I think we can all agree that we've been changed by this business and by these people in this room in one way or another. Sorry.
You got this one.
You guys started the flood over there when we were doing that exercise. But anyways, so I used to think that being an influencer was, somebody on Instagram that had the cute hat and all the perfect filters and all the perfect kids and their little activities, and they were in the stories every day, and they had the swipe up feature and 10,000 followers. That's what I thought an influencer was. But when I read that definition, I knew it wasn't. An influencer is somebody that can affect change on your life. And you're an influencer if you can affect change on someone else's life. So I wanted to tell you a little bit about the difference between being an influencer and having followers on Instagram versus what we do, creating a ripple effect. I just wanted to kind of map out, because might not look like it, but I like nerdy things like math. And when I map this out, we talk about the power of 3 all the time. And it was just kind of this abstract idea, going sober, helping people go sober sounds like a nice idea. But when you really map it out, when you really put the numbers on paper, it's pretty unreal what you can create. So, for instance, recruit 3 people a month for 12 months, that's 36 people a year. If I help just 7 of those people do the same, recruit 3 people a month for an entire year, that's 252 people. That's not that hard, you guys. Recruiting 3 people a month and helping 7 people recruit 3 people a month, that's no big deal. And then if out of all 7 of those people, they help 4 of their own people recruit 3 people a month, that's 1,008 people in a year. All of those people combined is 1,296 people in 12 months. If you only had 75% retention, you would still have 4,800 points. So if that gives you an idea of the power that can happen when you have influence with just a handful of people that have the vision. You don't have to influence 10,000 people. You don't have to have followers, admirers, a perfect Instagram to do this. You need influence and trust with a small group of people that you can make an impact with. And the kind of influence I'm talking about is the kind that my mom had on me. My mom's name is Ruby, and I thought it was fitting to talk about Ruby on the New Retreat. And like it was mentioned earlier, I grew up on a dairy farm, and we had this little farmhouse. My great-grandpa built it when he moved over from the Netherlands, and it had these old squeaky floors, and me and my 3 sisters slept in the bedrooms upstairs. And every morning my mom would get up before us. She would take a shower, she would put on her makeup, get dressed, do her devotionals, cook breakfast, and then she would come upstairs, and we would hear her before we'd see her because the floors all squeaked. And she would bust open the doors, bust open the curtains, let the sunshine in, and she'd sing us this little jingle. She'd go, get up, get up, get out of bed, it's time to rise and shine. And all of my sisters, we all hated it, right? Like, she had so much energy and so much enthusiasm at that hour of the morning, and we just wanted to sleep till noon. But my mom was relentless, and so we got up, got out of bed, and we just did our daily life that way. But what made an impact on me was my mom's consistency. She was unwavering. She got up every day. She did her devotions every day before anybody else got up. She put on makeup. I mean, I don't know nothing about being a mom, but I do know that my mom cared about how she showed up for her job, and her job was being a stay-at-home mom. And so that meant something to me. So, why did my mom have such influence with me? She showed up with consistency. She showed up with excellence, and she showed up with unwavering belief. And in that time in my life, the whole rest of the world was crumbling around me. My dad was an alcoholic, so a lot of things were inconsistent in my life. I didn't know what was happening when I'd walk into the room. I learned to feel the temperature of the room. Who's dad going to be today? And my mom was that anchor, the person that I could depend on, that showed up the same way every day. She was who she said she was. She had integrity, and she had unwavering belief. And that's what you get to do for people. You get to be that consistent person in someone's life. You get to be that person that doesn't give up on them. You get to be the person that shows what it looks like to show up with excellence, with discipline, even when it's tough, because it was tough on my mom. And she could have gave up, but she didn't. And that's the kind of person that you get to be for other people. It matters. So with that kind of perspective in mind, I want you to think of a couple of people who have had influence in your life. Who's had influence that made that kind of a difference in your life? A teacher, a coach, a sibling, a parent. Think about why. Why did those people matter so much to you? Why did they have such influence on you? because you get to portray that to other people. You get to be that influencer for other people as well. So the first thing you need to do is address your belief about growing your network. Stop arguing for your limitations. There is an unlimited number of people in this world, and the only difference between your warm market and your cold market is you haven't gained influence with your cold market yet. But that is something that you can actively grow every single day. And you can create a dynamic network of people that know you, trust you, and want to be right there by your side. Part of that is vulnerability. Standing up here crying my eyes out, right? You know, vulnerability gives people access to you in a way that helps them trust you. If you can be vulnerable, that takes courage. And if you're courageous, people want to follow you. The second thing is know the difference between real influence and just gaining followers. We're not after followers. That's not the kind of influence that makes a difference. And every single one of you in this room is a difference maker. You guys have all made a difference for people. And that's what we're after here. The third thing is show up like Ruby. Consistency, excellence, unwavering belief. I want to give you guys 4 tangible things, and they're going to seem insignificant. And if you have read The Slight Edge, hopefully you haven't been a part of that book club, then you know that these are the tiny little insignificant things that actually matter. You know, it's the insignificant things that you do every single day that compound with consistency so that you get results. So fight that when you leave here. You're going to think, that doesn't apply to me. But it applies to you. And they seem silly, honestly. But number 1, tangible thing. Download the app Lightroom. Download that app and then go on YouTube and watch a tutorial about how to use presets. It seems silly, honestly, but this is part of showing up with excellence because this is part of showing up with your brand. This is the equivalent of my mom putting on makeup in the morning. This was just her presenting herself in a way that made her brand recognizable. My mom's brand was Lee jeans up to here, and t-shirt tucked in, and makeup with blush like you wouldn't believe. So, but everybody recognized her, right? And I knew exactly who I was going to wake up to every morning. And so that was my mom's brand, and that built trust with me. That's who she was. And you guys can do that too in such a tiny little way with presets. It's putting lipstick on, and it's not about making the photo pretty, it's about using that preset consistently for months at a time, at least one season at a time, so that your brand becomes recognizable when people scroll past it. Second thing, when you are writing content to put on your Instagram or your Facebook, make sure you're putting spaces between sentences. This seems like such a tiny little thing, but I cannot tell you the difference it makes. If you put a captivating one-liner in there, and then a space where there's white space, and then another sentence or 2, and then space, another sentence or 2, it makes such a difference. It's like feeding people an appetizer, and then a salad, and then the main course, and then finally dessert. And your dessert should be some kind of an offer. It should be an offer for Plexus, you know, something to draw them in to take action. So instead of putting one big blocky paragraph out there and shoving the entire meal at them at once, just feed them one bite at a time. The next thing is to read How to Win Friends and Influence People. And then when you get all the way to the end of that book, go back to the first page and then read it again. And then when you get to the end again, read it again. Honest to goodness, John Maxwell said he has read that book 10 times. If John read it 10 times, I need to probably go through it a good 15 to 20. So it's really impactful on how you communicate with people, how you connect with people, how they relate to you, and it's gonna change your business. For somebody like me that started with a network on fire, this was what I needed. I needed a way to learn skills on how to grow my network in a way where people trusted me and it felt authentic. And this was the book that made that happen. The fourth thing is read and write daily. I often get people saying such sweet comments and saying, I wish I could write like you, I wish I could, come up with content like you do. And I don't know if y'all would if you knew what it took to learn to write like that. And it's a learned skill. It wasn't anything I was born with, I promise you. It is something I work at daily. I read at least a couple of hours a day, something. Whether that's personal growth, a novel, literally anything, something that I'm interested in learning about online. When you read more, you become a better writer. It influences your writing, and it matters. And then practice writing every day. I know One Plexus, we love to do our copy and paste posts, but make sure you're looking at those posts through the filter of, is this something that I would actually say? Is this something that represents me as a person? Is it authentic to me? Is there something I need to change? Or can I write something that is more authentic to me? Because that's a big part of your brand too. People want to get to know you through your posts. So give them the opportunity and write some stuff yourself. And the next thing is fully immerse yourself into something that you're passionate about. I think we're all passionate about Plexus, that's why we're here, right? But you have to have other ways to connect with people. It's a big deal to be able to connect with people on other topics that you're passionate about. For me, a lot of times it's horses or it's personal growth and development because that's been a big part of my life. And so that's the brand that I've developed. That's what people have come to expect from me. They're going to see horse pictures, they're going to see stuff